Just a pilot in his cockpit seated. Black leather on his ass, keep a hustler heated.
Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. So today I'm going to be making a video that has been long requested by a number of people, and I just kind of been reluctant on making it for whatever reason. That hissing you guys always hear, those are called cicada bugs, and they are super loud. Luckily they don't make noise at night very much, but they're pretty loud, and I get kind of used to it. But I've lived out here in Houston for a few years now, and they don't come out every year. They only come out like on, like, I don't know, there's some complexity with the way they breed or something like that. It's kind of neat. And let me give you a quick tour of the car and everything I've done to it. That's new. If you haven't watched this video yet, you should go ahead and do that. But I'm just going to take you through everything I've done to the car since it was stock, brand new. And then we'll kind of compare it to a Hellcat and the Hellcat costs and the performance you get out of Hellcat, and see if it makes sense to go with a Supercharged Scatpack or some sort of scat pack with forced induction, or you can do nitrous or whatever, versus a Hellcat. So you see here, this is a D1 SC Supercharger, and it runs about 8 pounds of boost. At the peak, it can hit like 9 pounds, but it generally runs around like 8, and that's only at the highest RPM. And that's one of the hard things about the boost. When everybody asks like how much boost is it running, it runs more at the very top, but like the average that it's running like through the range is not much at all until it gets to like, you know, 5-6 grand, and then it starts getting to the higher levels. So it makes 630 to the wheels. Performance wise, this blower is the only thing it has. Other than that, it's completely stock. I mean, not that this is a minor mod or anything. It made about 430 bone stock. So that's the only thing as far as motor performance. And that cost me $10,600. All installed and everything, and tuned. So that was the complete cost of that. And I also got different rims and tires. Now these tires are 315 35 20, and this is a all season. It has a pretty good tread wear of like 560. So these are not super sticky tires, they're all seasons, but they hook okay, and they're wide, so that's the main reason why it hooks okay. So the rims and tires together I think cost me around 2 grand for everything. I want to say around that, like grand for the rims and grand for the tires, roughly. And the tires in the front are, I think they're 275s. Yeah, 275 40/20. And this is a 9.5 inch in the front and a 10.5 inch in the back. And of course I put these on, those were like 20 bucks, 30 bucks. I tinted the windows, I think that was like 200, something like that. I made videos on everything, so I'll actually link to all the videos where I did this stuff in the description. And I did this little roof spoiler. I don't know how much that was, like $100 or something. Then of course the WickerBill from ZL1 Addons, and that was like another 200 roughly. Then I got the black RT badge, which was another 20 bucks or so. And I wanted to say these, but I never replaced that side. I've only replaced this side. So these are $100 as well, and these are just LED strips. So that's 10,600 plus roughly 2,000 for the wheels, and then miscellaneous stuff. So I'm probably on top of the car itself, and I'll put more exact numbers up on the screen because I just don't know them offhand. So in the interior here, I have a taser, which was I don't know how much tasers cost, like 200. So the other thing that I got was with the Supercharger install is I had them put these gauges in. There's a boost and an AFR. So that was included in the 10,600 price. You know, these are nice gauges, and it has this nice you know, felt wrapped pod. I mean, the whole thing looks really good. You know, what really matters are the things that that would have been redundant on a Hellcat. So obviously the Supercharger is one of the big ones that you wouldn't have had to do on a Hellcat, because you already have just as much or more power. So the rims, the rims and tires, you can maybe count those, because the Hellcat doesn't have, I think it only has 10 inch in the back, or 9.5. So I don't think you can put 3 15s on a Hellcat quite as easily. So maybe that's a mod that you would need with the Scat Pack that you wouldn't need with the Hellcat. Kinda, maybe. I guess it just depends on how you look at it. And of course I have drag radials for the car, but I'm not including that in the price, because it's not really, you know, relevant in the comparison versus Scat Pack versus Hellcat. So I would call the amount of money to get the power out of the car, and then you can give a little bit for the rims and tires, somewhere around, let's say 12,000 over a Hellcat to get the car where it is now, where it's pretty reliably making 630 to the wheels. I obviously raced that Hellcat, and I got beat pretty good on the top end. All right, you honk?
You can take the hit.
Okay, I'll take the hit. You know, as far as which one is quicker, I think a Hellcat is a little bit quicker than this car, but not by much. So, you know, the Hellcat does have that one point for it, that it is quicker than my car. The big things that a lot of people don't really consider, or didn't consider, like, they're just looking at performance, and that's just one aspect. When I bought this car, I paid $40,000 for this car, and the MSRP on it was 48 or 49, so I got a really good deal on it. And that's one key thing, is you can't get those kind of deals on Hellcats. It's just not possible. Maybe you can get 9 grand off of one, but it starts so high that it just ends up being a lot more expensive. So I did thoroughly shop Hellcats before I bought this, new and used. And I also shopped them when I bought my wife's 392. And the fact is, I know a lot of people will say, just get a used Hellcat, get a used Hellcat. It's a lot more money than a brand new Scat Pack, or even the TA there. It's a lot more money for a Hellcat, like 20 grand more. The things that the Hellcat doesn't have. The first one is gonna be cylinder deactivation. And as you know, I just posted the picture on Instagram of me getting like 26 miles per gallon or whatever it was. On the freeway with the cylinder deactivation, this thing gets actually pretty good mileage. And I'm not sure how that's humanly possible, but my range just went up while I've been sitting here. That's how awesome the car is. So cylinder deactivation, the Hellcats don't get the cylinder deactivation, which means their mileage on the highway is a little bit worse. The other thing that this car has that you can't get on the Hellcats is adaptive cruise control. And this is, if you drive in traffic a lot and you drive on the highway a lot, adaptive cruise control, I can't rave about it more. It is awesome. And the adaptive cruise in the Charger specifically, the Challengers doesn't work as well for whatever reason, but the adaptive cruise in the Charger works excellent. And that was one of the things that I wanted. So that was one of the things I would have to live without if I went with a Hellcat, and I didn't really want to. So that was another strike against the Hellcat. Other than those things, the adaptive cruise, obviously the need for the taser, and the cylinder deactivation, the cars are really similar, like really similar. And hopefully I have the video of me checking out one of the Hellcats at a dealership. I ended up never putting it anywhere just because it wasn't really relevant. But I'll put that in now just to show. Got a Hellcat here. So I'm here sitting in the Hellcat now. I will say that the Hellcat is pretty much identical to my car. I mean, it feels like I'm in my car. Like, there's really nothing that feels different. But that's one of the things that about the Hellcat that I didn't really see. Like, this car isn't any nicer than mine. I mean, I think these seats might even be identical. We'll have to look at mine, but I know this isn't the leather seats that the Hellcat has or whatever. But I don't want those. I would want these seats because I don't like really shiny, sticky leather. It gets hot out here and I just don't like it. It doesn't feel good. So this is probably about how I'd want my Hellcat equipped. And as you can see, the Hellcats don't have adaptive radar cruise as an option. So I guess every Hellcat wouldn't have these buttons. Other than that, I mean, you get 200 miles per hour on the dash. Pretty much the same car. Other than that, feels exactly like my car. I mean, there is nothing different. And obviously this is 76,000. Maybe with a little discount you can get it down to, you know, 70, but that is still a lot more than I paid for mine. To have essentially the same thing except with more features and the same power and a warranty, of course. Hop in the Hellcat, see how you like it.
Hellcat. Only if I get both keys.
No, if she gets a Hellcat, she does not get the red key. She will
If we
crash
don't
it.
get a Hellcat. I'm too short. You're too tall.
I do like the steering wheel a little bit more. I think it has a different steering wheel than...
It is nice. I do.
It's like a flat
yeah.
bottom. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, it's nice. I like the red gauges. I notice little color accessory things that I like. It feels like your car.
What was that?
It feels like your car.
Exactly. That's what I was just saying. It feels just like mine. Like there's no difference in the quality and the seats.
And I really did not hear him say that.
That's funny. But it feels the same.
It
Like
does. I'm
the
like, I
seats
feel like
the
I'm
same.
sitting
Like
in your
everything
car.
feels the same. Yeah.
It doesn't feel any different.
So hopefully you guys saw that. And the interiors are identical. I mean, I've sat in a lot of Hellcats and the interiors are identical. Like these seats, I think they call them the Houndstooth or something like that, Alcantara. You can get the Hellcat with these exact same seats. I mean, the interior is the same. I mean, like it'll say like SRT here or a couple little things like that, but they're the same. So don't think you're getting a superior interior, superior car and all that with the Hellcat, because you're not. It's the same. Now with the Hellcat, I believe you can get a better stereo, and that was one of the, one of the downsides of these Scat Packs, if that's something that you're super concerned about. I can't get the Harman Kardon. This Beats Audio was the best available stereo for this car, and that wasn't the case for the Hellcats. So if you want a better stereo, maybe the Hellcat's for you, or you can just upgrade this one, whatever. Features wise, I would give a slight advantage to the Scat Pack, or call them the same depending on how you look at it. So I pretty much ties there. So the only thing you're really getting in the Hellcat is performance. Now, with that being said, that's a big one, because the Hellcat has the HP 90 transmission and not the HP 60, or I know I have the things wrong, but anyway, the Hellcat has a better transmission. With that being said, mine here in the Scat Pack is holding the 630 with no problems. So how big of a problem that is, I guess remains to be seen, but it is a fact that the Hellcat has a better transmission and a stronger engine. My point on that with the engine and trans from the Hellcat is they're not indestructible. So you're gonna risk blowing up the motor just like I do in this Scat Pack, and your motor is just more expensive. So if you want to keep it stock, the Hellcat makes more sense power-wise, but if you want to modify it, then that big premium on the Hellcat to have a nice warranted 707 horsepower motor pretty much goes out the window, because if you mod it, then your warranty's gone, just like mine is. That's one thing to consider. If you want to mod, Hellcat is, I don't want to say it's a worse option, but just something to keep in mind, that you're spending more money and you can break it just like anyone else can. So now that we've established the interiors are pretty much the same, like the physical cars are pretty much the same. The engine is better in the Hellcat. The transmission's better in the Hellcat. Now let's go over the big one now. And for this, I got to get out of the car. So when you see this car, what does this car look like to you? It looks like a Scat Pack. It says 392 on the side. Nothing special looking about it. Like, I don't want to say this car is a sleeper because, you know, how can a 392 be a sleeper? But it kind of is. I get races in this car all the time from people that don't know that it has 600 plus to the wheels. So obviously, most non-forced induction cars that are roaming the street, I can take down. Obviously, I can't beat Hellcats. Normal cars, Mustangs, and stuff like that, I can take them all out, and they'll actually race me because they don't realize that this thing is as fast as it is, and people don't like to race fast cars and lose races, so they'll race me and they won't race Hellcats. So that, to me, is a kind of a big deal, and it's a big bump in the cool factor. I think this car is a lot cooler than a Hellcat, even though it's not as good in a sense and not as expensive, because it is a modified 392, heavily modified-ish. I mean, it's got a blower on it. So it's just a really powerful, really fast 392 rather than just a stock or run-of-the-mill and average Hellcat. So to me, that's a plus, a huge plus for the 392. I prefer modified cars and cars like this that are kind of like a stock car that's been, you know, turned up a whole bunch. More so than just something that's just fast stock and then you leave it stock and that's it. It's kind of boring. But with that being said, if you need something more reliable, if you want something that you can daily drive and not have to worry about it, you want a warranty, and you want that Hellcat power, this isn't the car for you because I don't have a warranty. My warranty is that. Meaning, when this thing breaks, I drive a different car until I get it fixed. So you wouldn't really have to do that if you had a Hellcat and it was stock or very lightly modified where you didn't have to really worry about that kind of stuff. That's another point for the Hellcat. Now the biggest difference is going to be the most controversial one, and that is price. Contrary to what everybody believes, unless someone can show very strong evidence of this, because I've researched the hell out of it, and despite what everybody says, it's just not true. You cannot get a used Hellcat for the same price as a new Scat Pack. It's just not possible. Maybe they might start getting a little bit close if you compare like a ridiculous comparison, like a full price Scat Pack versus a heavily discounted Hellcat. Like, yeah, they might intersect a little bit, but that's not the reality. The reality is, if you go to look for the cheapest Scat Pack solution versus the cheapest Hellcat solution, they're always going to be $20,000 plus different, give or take a couple thousand, but usually it's even more than 20 grand. That's just the fact of the matter, and we can post links and compare it all day, but the Hellcat is 20 grand plus more expensive. So now that just brings you to the real question: is the car worth, is it worth 20 grand, the difference in the cars? And that's an individual thing. Like, a lot of people will look like, well, I've spent like 14 grand on the car, and it's not even a Hellcat. That's so stupid. But I haven't spent as much as a Hellcat, and you can say I don't have a warranty, but I've still spent a good, I'm in the car maybe, what, 54,000-ish, if you say I spent 14,000 and I paid 40 for the car. So I'm in the car about 54,000, and I couldn't have gotten a new Hellcat for 54,000, and I bought this car new, of course. So even comparing to a used Hellcat, you know, you can't get them for 40 grand. They're going to cost at least 50, 55 or more for a car that's used and probably has a lot of miles. But as far as a low mileage, like flawless Hellcat, you really can't get them for the low prices that everybody says. So it's going to cost you 20 grand more. Remember, apples to apples, you can look at it however you want, discounted versus undiscounted, new versus used. You can get a used Scat Pack, you can get a used Hellcat, you can get a new Scat Pack, a new Hellcat. The price for between each of them is at least 20 grand. And that's, you know, when you compare like a fair comparison, it's going to be 20 grand. Because just like you can get a new Hellcat or a used Hellcat, you can get a new or used Scat Pack. They're going to cost 20 grand difference. Like, and that's just, you know, that's just the average of what it's going to be. With the extra money, there is no way I could have gotten a Hellcat as good as this for the price that I'm into this car. Now you can say maybe you wouldn't have the problems, maybe you wouldn't be at risk for your car blowing up. You know, there's the pros and cons. When people ask would I have done it again and was it worth it and was this smart, I say yeah. I mean, I had some problems with the tune and I still have some problems with the tune, but they're relatively minor in the sense that I can hop in this car and drive it anywhere. Like, I don't have concerns that like it's not gonna start up and I can't just go outside and drive it. I don't have those kind of problems. So to me, the car is functional, and it's been functional the vast majority of the time. From a reliability standpoint, I don't see a big difference. The Hellcats aren't flawless. I mean, they have problems just like anything else. What it really comes down to on what option is better is just the individual. You know, to me, if I had a Hellcat and if I wanted the Hellcat to feel cool and special, it would have to be really fast, like really fast. If I say I have a Scat Pack that runs, you know, mid 11s, that's impressive. Yeah, that's a quick Scat Pack. If I say I have a Hellcat that runs, you know, mid 10s, that's pretty, you know, it's not bad. Nothing really impressive. I mean, if you want to have a fast Hellcat, that's something that stands out from the crowd and is a lot faster than most, and you got to turn up the wick a whole bunch. But to have a Scat Pack that stands out and is cool, the bar is a lot lower because it's a lot slower stock for stock. I mean, it has 250 less horsepower stock to stock. So yeah, obviously to create impressive, it needs to be, you know, the bar is higher on the Hellcat. So if that's a concern of yours, then if you want to have a cool car and not just another run-of-the-mill car, then it's just going to cost more money to do that in the Hellcat. The car ran 11.6 at 120 miles an hour with these all seasons on it.
Pro Charger. At 120.
So that's you know, that's plenty fast for me. And you know, maybe if I start losing a bunch of races on the street, or if it starts like feeling slow, then maybe I'll go attack it. But right now, like, I win a lot of races on the street, and I don't have a big motivation to get crazy power from it. So anyway, that's it. That's the comparison. So which one's better? There's really no simple answer. For me, the Scat Pack's a lot better. I wouldn't want a Hellcat. Yeah, all things being equal, price being equal and everything, then sure, yeah, I'd take a Hellcat. But with the price difference, to me, the Hellcat doesn't hold the value, and that's because I'm gonna modify it. So if you want a Hellcat, that's great, but the value of the Hellcat really comes in leaving it stock. If you want to modify it, the Hellcat's value kind of takes a dive, because then now you have stronger stuff, but you don't have a warranty. So you know, you're not really on top anymore, in my opinion. That's going to be it for this video. Hopefully it's not too confusing. Let the discussion start. I know this is going to bring a lot of you know, Hellcat haters and Hellcat fans from the woodwork to state their opinion, and that's great. I mean, that's what I wanted. And this is just my opinion based on owning my Scat Pack and modifying my Scat Pack, and also owning my wife's TA, which I did look to get her a Hellcat, and they were just too expensive. So Scat Pack for the win. Peace.
cockpit seated. Black leather on his ass, keep a hustler heated. Weed is engaged in the pavement. Brother escorts like I'm seeking arrangement. Push the gas, escalate the gauges, escalate hits on the cam.